Hello, fourth grade. Today we're going to continue talking about the different regions of California. Now, the last assignment you took a look at a lot of different pictures of regions of California and tried to determine what region you were looking at based on those pictures. I also had you complete page 21 over here, where you colored the different regions based on which region they were and answered the questions at the bottom. Now, for today's lesson, we're going to continue working with different regions of California, and we're going to start our activity book in just a moment. So I'm going to go through and read with you. Make sure you put your name, your full name page, and follow along with me. A region is a large area in which places share similar features. There are 4 regions in California. Remember, we said a region is a place that has a similar climate, similar vegetation or things that grow there, similar populations. So it's an area that has a lot of the same things in it. That's what makes it a region. The coastal region is by the ocean. It has mild weather, beaches, and cliffs. So the coastal region is what you're going to find right here on the edge. California's coast is right by the Pacific Ocean over here. So the coastal region is the area of land where it meets the ocean. The desert region is hot and dry, but can get cold at night. So the desert region is more inland, away from the water that borders other states. So it's bordering land. It's not bordering any water. There are few plants in the desert region because of the hot, dry climate. It makes it very hard for things to grow. Mountain region gets snow and has minerals. So here's your mountain region over here. Mountain region kind of spreads around, and in the middle of the mountain region, we have the valley region. Now, the mountain region has a lot of minerals because there's a lot of rocks and things there, and a lot of those minerals are found either underground or in those different rock formations. The valley region is a low, flat area with a lot of farming and few trees. So this is the area where they will grow a lot of crops. There's not a lot of trees there. There's mostly grasses, but it's good for farming because that region does get rain. The weather is fairly mild, so it's easy for things to grow there. How the regions help each other. Like much of the West, California has an arid climate. Fresh water is scarce due to the lack of rain during the dry season. Snow melting from the mountain region runs off into the valley region, where it is collected and stored for future use. So up in the mountain region, where it does snow up high at higher altitudes, the higher up you go, the more likely you are to get snow. When that snow melts, it melts and it runs down and drips down into the valley region, and that's what helps to make that area so good for farming. The Central Valley region grows most of the food for the other regions. The desert and mountain regions do not have the right conditions to grow a lot of crops. So this valley region, this small section over here in California, helps to make up for all of the vegetation and crops that don't grow in all of these other regions here. The mountain, coastal, and desert regions offer many tourist attractions for people to visit. So that means that a lot of people will come and on vacation in places like California. They'll come to California for a lot of the beaches. If you go to different deserts like Death Valley, there's Palm Springs, there's up in the mountain region is where we find a lot of our national parks. Go ahead and take a minute to answer this question. How do California regions help each other? So go back and reread this section to determine how that happens. Now we're going to start on your California regions book, and we're going to begin with the mountain region. So each one of these will have 3 parts where it'll talk about the region, it'll talk about the climate, and what kind of natural resources and industry you find in each one. So beginning with the mountain region, we see that the mountain region is the largest region in California and has 3 major mountain ranges. If you take a look at our picture here, you can see those mountain ranges. We have the coastal ranges that run along the west coast of California. Grapes and nuts grow well here. So our Cascade Mountain coastal ranges run over here. The Sierra Nevada mountain range is 400 miles long and covers the eastern border of California. This is where the gold rush began. So when people moved over to California from different parts of the country to search for gold, the Sierra Nevada mountain range area is the area that they went to. And then we have the Cascade Mountains, which are in the northeast corner of the state. So right up here is where we find the Cascade Mountains. All the volcanoes in the last 200 years have happened here. These mountains are heavily wooded and have waterfalls. That means there's a lot of trees and waterfalls in these areas. These are where, again, you find a lot of the national parks in California. So we've got the coastal ranges over here. So these are the mountain areas that are close to the coast. Cascade Mountain in the northeast corner, and then the Sierra Nevada that runs along the east coast of the state, the eastern border of the state, and has been known for the gold rush. Moving on to talk about the climate. So mountains have different climates depending on the side of the mountain that you're on. The ocean side of the mountain is usually cool and foggy and wet. The Pacific Ocean brings rain to the western side of the mountain and blocks the rain from going to the eastern side. So because it rains kind of on one side, those mountains serve as a barrier or a wall to block it from getting to the other side of that mountain range. So usually the eastern side of the mountain range that's farthest away from the water is where you're going to get a lot of the dry, hot climates. And the highest peaks of the mountain ranges are cold all year round. This is a picture right here of Lake Tahoe. It says people love to ski at Lake Tahoe, especially in the wintertime. Natural resources and industry. The mountain region has many natural resources. Minerals like gold, silver, and granite can be found here. Grapes and fruit and nut trees grow well here. Melting snow from the Sierra Nevada is collected in valleys and stored and sent to dry areas. Beavers, bears, bobcats, and moose live here. Tourism is a huge industry in this region. The mountain region brings people from all over to ski at Lake Tahoe, camp at Big Sur, and hike at Yosemite Park. The timber industry is also big due to the abundance of sequoia trees in the area. So all of these different mountainous areas in California bring in a lot of tourists. They provide a lot of natural resources. And among those natural resources are precious metals and stones, as well as trees that people use for different things like building and construction. So you're going to work on page 25 over here. And then we're going to get to the Valley region later. So this section is titled Land Use. How is the land used here? So you'll see in the picture different ways that they use the land. You'll see over here from the map key what all the different colors stand for on this map. And over here on our population map, you'll be able to see which areas have the highest population or the most amount of people living in it, and which areas have the lowest population. Once you've completed that section, we're going to go ahead and complete this review section at the bottom. It says complete the table with the information you learned. So tell me about the climate in the mountain region of California. Tell me about the land and the geography. What's the land like in the mountain region? And what kind of economy or resources? So that's natural resources and industry. what you're going to find right here. I want you to summarize or write in your own words to complete the economy and resource section. Okay, now that we've completed our first region, which is a mountain region, and you've completed your review section down here and answered your questions up here, we're going to go ahead and move into our second region of California, which is the Valley region. I'm going to read through this with you, and then just like the mountain region, you're going to have information about the valley. You're going to have information about the climate and the resources, and then also like the mountain region, you're going to have a question about the land and a review section. Now, a valley is a low area of flat land that's between hills or mountains and usually has a river or stream flowing through it. So there is some kind of water source that runs through this area, and it's in between mountain regions. Now we know over here we've got the coastal mountain range, and over here we have the Sierra Nevada, and and in the top region, the top northeast region, we have the Cascade Mountains. So the Central Valley falls in between these different mountain ranges, and it has a water source in between. So the Central Valley lies between the coastal ranges and the Sierra Nevada mountain range. It's 500 miles long and made up of the San Joaquin Valley in the south and the Sacramento Valley in the north. So the San Joaquin Valley is kind of this bottom section. The Sacramento Valley is up here in the northern or upper section. Land in the Central Valley has great farmland and a perfect climate for growing crops. More than 230 crops are grown here, including grapes, peaches, tomatoes, and sunflowers. So these are just some of the different kinds of things that grow in the Central Valley and are used in different parts of the state. Now for the climate. The northern Central Valley has a hot Mediterranean climate with hot, dry summers and cool, wet winters. Thick fog can make it hard to see at times. The southern Central Valley has Mediterranean steep climate with warm temperatures and dry conditions year-round. The Central Valley gets plenty of sun and makes this region the perfect place to grow vegetables and nuts. Natural resources. Farming is the #1 industry because of its lush, fertile land. Over 200 different crops grow in California, including avocados, artichokes, and nectarines. 8% of the entire country's crops are grown in the Central Valley. 90% of the world's almonds are grown here. Cattle and chickens are also raised here. So if you look at all of the almonds in the world, 90% of those all come from the Central Valley in California. And because it's such good farmland, a lot of the crops that are grown here are distributed or sent out to different parts of the country that aren't as fertile or aren't as good growing conditions for those particular kinds of crops as it is in the Central Valley region. The grasslands in this area support several herbivores, including elk, deer, rabbits, kangaroo rats, and antelope. Along with different kinds of crops, many grasses and colorful flowers grow here. So because of the land and the climate in this region, there's a lot of animal populations that live here and a lot of different kinds of vegetation, not just crops, but also other different kinds of plants, such as different kinds of flowers and grasses. Now let's take a look at the land use. How is the land used here? So think about everything we've read so far. And we're talking about this area right here, which is the Central Valley. And we know that that's brown. So we're going to look over here to see on the legend what brown is, and we can see that that's farmland. So make sure you use a complete sentence when you answer this area, and then you can use a population map to figure out about how many people live in that general area. Now the bottom review section, you're going to take the information that we read and you're going to fill in these 3 sections. So you're going to tell me a little bit about what the climate is in the Central Valley. And remember, it's a little bit different between the north and south. You're going to talk about the land or the geography of the Central Valley, and you're going to talk about the different natural resources, the economy, and industry is also found in the Central Valley region. Once you're done with that, you would have completed your assignments for this week. If you have any questions, sign into our live session and I will be happy to help you. Otherwise, I hope you have a great night. Bye.